Hello and welcome to the Real Hernando podcast, a podcast created to highlight our amazing local community and small businesses right here in Hernando, Mississippi. I am your host, Derek, and this episode is brought to you by Shelby Row Productions. Today, I'm talking with Jennifer Giachelli, owner of LG Trend Boutique. LG Trend is all about the shopper's experience. The prices are budget friendly for all, and they offer the latest boutique fashions for all ages and body types, and the customers always come first. They offer the Always BOGO. When you go buy one regular price item, you get another regular price item half off. And they offer this 365 days a year. Shipping is free for all regular priced items over $50. For pre-order items, go to the LG Trend exclusive VIP Facebook group. And for in-stock items, shop at lgtrendco.com. That is lgtrendco.com. Jennifer, thank you for doing this with me today. I appreciate
I'm happy.
it.
I'm so appreciate you doing this.
Oh, absolutely. So, as usual, I do this to share stories with the community, typically business owners. So this is obviously fitting for you, but you also have a very recent, present story that we want to talk about today too in this video, which is how you're moving from your brick and mortar back to online only.
Right.
Now, by the time people are watching this, that's already been done. But as we're talking now, it's in the middle of it. So
Right.
we're going to definitely talk about that. And then, of course, your business. But before we get into that, I'd love to get to know more about Jennifer,
Yes.
And for the people listening or watching that may not know the owner of LG Trend, this gives them an opportunity to learn more of the heart and soul of what the business actually is. So first off, let's talk about, a little more about you, where you're from, what your upbringing was like. Did you grow up here in Hernando or somewhere else in this county?
Well, I was raised in the Delta. I was born and grew up in Clarksdale, Mississippi, so not very far from here. I grew up, I have a brother, so it's just me and my brother. And we grew up, and my husband, Richie, that I'm married to, we actually grew up down the street from each other. So we've known each other forever, and we got married, and we moved to DeSoto County. My son is 24, so we moved here when he was going into second grade. And we moved to DeSoto County, and then we actually moved to Nesbitt. We lived there for several years, and when Kevin, I think he was going into the fifth grade, we moved to Hernando to get him into the Hernando school. So we've been in Hernando ever since.
What year is that again?
I'm horrible with years. It's been, let's see, 2008.
Okay.
2008.
So you've seen some change.
We have, yeah. We love Hernando.
Was Walmart here yet?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it, the old Kroger? There was a different
It was
Kroger.
the old Kroger.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kroger before they remodeled and opened up the marketplace. So.
All I know is the new one. Well, that's great. So, schools here is a big reason why I'm here as well. So,
wonderful schools, and that's what brought us to, lots of things brought us to Hernando, just the quaint charm, the community, but also the schools. It was like the perfect combination of a place, to live. And not so far from everything else. You're so close to all that DeSoto County has to offer.
I hear a lot of people call it, Mayberry.
It is, well, yeah.
Mayberry in 2022.
In a sense, right. A modern day
Yeah.
Mayberry. But I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
It's a Mayberry with a Walmart and a Kroger.
Right, with all the modern conveniences.
But, small businesses like yours, fit well too.
Right.
And there's a lot.
They're the heart of Hernando.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're talking right now, Jennifer. So, as you move to Hernando and settle here, you get your kids involved in school, and this becomes home. At that time, were you a business owner yet, or what was your career like?
I was not. So we moved here to Hernando in 2018. I did not open the storefront till 2006. I didn't start. Let me back up. I didn't open LG Trend until 2016 because I began as within my home. We opened this business up and we were home-based at that time. So for 8 years, I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had a legal assistant, paralegal background before that. I was a stay-at-home mom, took care of my children. My husband at that time had a job to where he was gone during the week. So he would leave on Monday, come back on Friday, and I took care of everything here. Around, I guess it was 2013, our daughter she got really sick. And she just had these random things that started occurring that the doctors couldn't figure out. But long story short, it played a part in her not being able to go to traditional school. So we had to pull her out. We started the homebound program. We had to go to Vanderbilt, Mayo, and all different places to try to find what was going on with her and the cause and the treatment and diagnosis, all of that. So in that time from about 2013 to 2016, that's what I did. I took care of her. Doctors. It was a really rough time. Throughout this time, though, I had been praying for something for me to do. Something, because I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything outside the home because my role was to take care of the kids while my husband worked away. And now Lauren, who was in such bad health, I was her caregiver.
And how old is she during this?
She was, let's see, 13.
Okay.
13, 14, something like that.
Okay.
She was, so that was my goal. That was my
That was your
job.
life.
That was what, yeah. So, I couldn't really do anything, but I was praying to God to give me something to do that would allow me to do something and take care of her. And two reasons. One, just to fill my time, because I've battled depression my whole life. I had some things that happened to me in my earlier years that have made depression a part of my life. And so for me, it was about trying to take care of my daughter, my kids while my husband was away, and filling my time to stay busy. Because for me, with that battle of depression, busyness and having something to do all the time, it helps me. So, but I didn't hear back from God on any kind of opportunity like that. So we go through 2008, 2016, then Lauren gets sick in 2013. So we go through those years. Well, in 2016, Lauren was older. We had some sort of a grip on parts of what was wrong. We had sort of a plan. But it's still to this day, it's ongoing. Doctors don't have it all pieced together. But you just learn he's brought her so much further. And it's just a matter of knowing and adjusting and dealing with what you can deal with and praying over the unknown. So that's kind of where we are today. But back in 2016, out of the blue, my daughter talked about wanting to open some sort of business online. So it originally started with her.
There you go.
And she was super young, but just something that we were tossing around, trying to do to give her something to help her with what she was going through and all of that.
Is she still homeschooling at this point?
She's graduated.
Oh,
she's college age. So she's come a long way. God is really good. But back in 2016, she and my husband were sitting around talking, and they literally, I had wanted to do something like this for a long time, but it began when my children were little. I wanted a children's boutique. Well, that never came to be. So they were sitting around in 2016 tossing ideas around, and they are the ones that literally birthed the idea of the boutique. And the boutique is named after my daughter. LG stands for Lauren Giachelli. They named it. They literally, through God's answered prayer, put in motion this boutique. So at that time, of course, with her age and the fact that it was going to be a woman's boutique, she wasn't able to participate in some of the ways, that she kind of wanted to. So we named it after her. The whole goal is for someday for her to have this, and in the meantime, as most people know, she now, in the last couple of years, she's opened Gia's Gifts Boutique, which is a custom specialized t-shirt boutique. So now she has that too. But that's literally how LG Trend became a boutique. And so they birthed the idea. We sat down, we talked, and we opened LG March of 2016 from my home.
And it was
we were literally from the dining room table.
And it was lgtrendco.com?
It was LG Trend Co. at that time.
This is the very beginning.
And literally, like when I say I knew nothing about a business, about boutique. I mean, I love fashion. I've always been into fashion, love clothes, love being a girl, all of those things. But I knew nothing about boutiques and business. So when I say it has been a faith journey of prayer and learning, that's literally,
It's so interesting. That has been the most common thread through all these conversations I get to have because of this podcast. I had no idea what I was doing. Is always the story. I didn't know what I was doing, never done it before, but I wanted to do it and figured it out.
Yep.
And that's so cool. I always say that's the entrepreneurial spirit. So you figure it out as you go.
You do, truly.
Yeah.
You make mistakes, you learn from those mistakes, you just learn as you go.
And that's something to learn from. Anyone listening or watching that's afraid to start a business, watch all of these episodes in this podcast. You'll realize that if you just try, have some faith, and trust in yourself, you can make something happen. So you made something happen, and it's cool that your kids were the ones that kind of birthed it for you. So I guess that was your answered prayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just came through them. So what was that first year like?
It was a lot of learning. It was, it was almost kind of feels like the blind leading the blind. Like I literally didn't know what I was doing. I just, I would pray over everything. God would give me, I feel like God would give me an idea. I would try it. And it was just literally a series of praying and learning. And I knew from the beginning. So one of the things that was important to me with my boutique was to be different, because I've learned that people perceive boutiques as, and I've heard it time and time again, boutiques as a store you go into that they, super high prices,
right,
all of these things that are associated with boutiques where, a woman can hear the word boutique and they're automatically, well, I can't go in there because they may be on a particular budget and they won't even walk in the door because they think it's going to be things out of their price range. So it was very important to me to be cost friendly and have the same trends, the same brands, all of the same things, but try my best to be as cost effective as I could. So all ladies of all budgets, all sizes, all body types, all tastes, all these things mesh together to give all ladies a place to shop in a boutique with the experience that comes along with that, but not have the super high price tags and all of the things that so many ladies are afraid of. The second thing that was very important to me was to offer sizes small to 3X, because there's many different types of ladies, many different types of body types, and I wanted it to be a place where all ladies felt comfortable and enjoyed shopping.
All inclusive. Yeah.
Right.
So is that where the BOGO deal?
Well, that came from? After. So I will tell you, that was something that over time, and I can't remember exactly when I started that, but it was, I think it was either in the first or second year. I want to say the first year, but just like I said, through prayer, this idea came to me, and it sounded crazy because I will tell you, when I first mentioned it to my husband, he was like, "Are you crazy? You can't do that and make money. I mean,
don't you have enough going on?
I mean, you can't do that." But I was like, no. I was like, I really have prayed over this. I feel strongly that this is what the Lord's leading me to do. And through prayer and doing it in the way He led me to do it, it has been, like, I can't even tell you how big a blessing it's been to me.
Sure.
And to the ladies shopping. And it wasn't a problem. He opened the door. I was fine financially. And I was able to pass off savings to these ladies shopping with me and it was a win-win. So it was a little scary idea at the beginning. You know, like I said, my husband was like, "You can't do that," and I was like, "Yeah, we can, we can."
And we're going to, whether you like it or not.
I just feel like this is what I need to do, and God's wanting me to do, and we did it, and never looked back.
So this is absolutely. I don't want to make this a business tutorial, or for any of these conversations I have, but I am interested in learning how an online from home boutique works. So are you finding the apparel in other vendors?
Same way as now that I've done both. It's the same way as a brick and mortar. The only difference is, and I've never changed up a lot of my aspects. I just added a store. So I've always had my group page, which in the very beginning, I would offer items for pre-order. The ladies would order, they come in, I ship, or I had a pickup option. So I kept that when I opened the brick and mortar, and that we just added a store. Really, it's no different. It's just basically when you have a home-based boutique, the question then becomes storage. So as you get the clothing in, where are you going to store it? Whereas in a store, you put it out in your store. Yeah. So it's really not anything different. Okay. It's, it's just that's your main thing.
So you had sort of a curbside delivery system when you worked out at home?
Yeah, I did.
That's interesting. So so you're just ordering stuff that you feel fits. Mm-hmm. You put it on your website.
Right.
And then hopefully there's some sales involved. And then you have some that are, so when they're pre-ordered, that means, okay, now you know exactly what to get.
Typically I order, I'll go through and I find the things that I want to order, just like I do now with the store. And so typically I've always, since the conception of LG, when things are 2 weeks away from shipping to me, because I'll pre-order from Market, or just, I've got now such a reputation with the brands that I order directly with them, but about 2 weeks away from shipping to me, they go on my group page. So then the ladies have an option to buy ahead of time, and that's kind of how it works.
Okay. So you're moving along. You got your local in-house business with your pickup situation, your pre-order, Facebook group, your website. Everything's moving along. For how long before you decide to go brick and mortar? But really, what's more interesting is why you went brick and mortar.
So 2 years. We opened the brick and mortar in 2018. And I had always said, because a year in, I was asked about brick and mortar, and I was like, no, never. That's just not something I want to do. I have the best of both worlds, and I needed to be flexible. I was still, Lauren's care had changed some, but I was still concerned about the flexibility also, because there's lots of doctor's appointments. All of her specialists are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's a lot of things to do. Yeah. So I was concerned about that, but I'd always said, no, absolutely not going to happen. Well, in 2018, we got to a point, or before that, but we began getting to a point where I had grown so much, and I was a one-woman show, that literally I was going to drown and mess up and make mistakes and not be able to handle it all, or I was going to have to stop, because I just couldn't do it. And the only option was to do that. It was either, okay, I've grown so much that I can't handle this. And I didn't really want to hire people to come in my house and, work here with me. So it was just one of those things that literally it feels like, and I say all the time, it feels like I went to bed one night and I was like, no, not going to do it. I woke up the next morning and it was like a light switch flipped. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And every piece of the puzzle for this storefront, God just put into place.
What do you think flipped the switch for you?
God.
Yeah. What's that story?
Just through lots of prayer, I knew, and I knew he had to change my direction and my mindset. Yeah. So I think it was just a timing thing. So
yeah, and certainly business 101, you can't do it all.
Right.
And if you want to grow, no one says we want to grow to, corporate level.
Right.
But as a business owner, you want to grow. You want to make some money. You want to be successful. You want to do the best you can, but there's only so much you can do all by yourself.
Right.
So when you get a storefront or actual brick and mortar, it was also right behind that, at least hiring someone.
Yeah, it was, I had to, we had to go in, renovate it, do all of that. And then I had to hire some people to help me. So
Okay. How many? Like, what was that first staff like for you? Like, how
it
many?
was friends. It was friends at first, and it
How
kind of
many?
graduated. It was me and a couple of other friends because we opened July of 2018.
Okay.
So it was a couple of teacher friends that I had at first, and me. And then when my teacher friends went back to school, I had a couple of other friends, and it kind of just graduated,
Yeah.
So
What was that first 6 months like being in a store?
it was very stressful. We went into it in July. We went into it through Christmas. It was my first Christmas, and I will say that's the first time that my heart issues that I have and surfaced. And so I went through from July to January, very stressful. So much fun, but very stressful. And January, right after Christmas, I began not feeling well.
That's January of what year?
2019.
Okay.
I began not feeling well, and I started having chest pains and went on for a couple of days, and it wouldn't go anywhere. And so one night I was sitting here. I'd gotten to where I couldn't even lift the laundry basket. I mean, I was out of breath, chest pains. So I was sitting here, long story short, they took me to an urgent clinic, and they hooked me up. And the people there started panicking, and they gave me nitro and called the ambulance. And long story short, my blood pressure had skyrocketed. They didn't tell me how high, but my blood pressure was so high that, and I have cardiomyopathy anyway, but my blood pressure was so high that it had done something to my heart. So it looked like I was having a heart attack. So they put me in the ambulance, rushed me to Baptist DeSoto. I had to stay there a week. Lots of tests to find out that the stress that I was under, my body couldn't handle. And it was a wake up like, you've got to do something, or the next time you may not be this lucky, you've got to make some changes. So already into it from July of 2018 to January 2019, at that point had to make changes. So that is when I started closing on Mondays, and that's why. Because we were originally open Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
But I had to make some changes early on, and that's one of the changes I made was to be open Tuesday through Saturday.
That really helped.
It did. It
that
helped.
one extra day.
It helped for a while. Yeah. I mean, it helped. Yeah, it helped for a long time, actually.
So that happened in 19. As we sit across from each other is 2022.
Right.
We're going to get into why now you're moving out of the brick and mortar. But that's 3 years of hanging in there, So did you have any more episodes like that? Or what's the 3 years been like?
Not to that degree, but it was learning. I'm one of these that I just push and I push and I push. And it's to my detriment because God a lot of times has to put me on my back before I'll give in and quit because I'm just wired like that. And that's just kind of how I've gone through the last 3 years. I'm not somebody that likes to ask for help. I like to do it. I had to learn after that to ask for help. I had to learn to restructure. I had to learn to know my limits. And that's basically how I made it through up until this January. Things kind of started getting really bad with my health again. But that's kind of how I did it. I learned. I learned my limits. I learned what to do, what not to do, ask for help, and unplug when I needed to.
Yeah.
And there's times that I had to unplug and do nothing for a week, to give my body some healing time and some rest. So periods of that and just plugging along.
Throughout that period, though, on the side of the health and having to figure out your pacing,
right?
Do you have any, fun story where maybe early on or within that first year where you had sort of like an aha moment of like, wow, this is exciting, this is going to work?
Oh, every day.
Yeah. Well, do you have any kind of fun stories about that
every day when
experience?
I walk in, even to this point, I can walk in and I open my door and I just stand there and I'm just amazed.
Right. Yeah.
It brings me to tears. And it has ever since we've opened that just, and then I look around because we've made lots of renovation changes. So when the store opened back in July 2018, it was very simple, not much in there. And then we renovated after that. Looked completely different. We made changes, and then we renovated a year ago, back maybe 2020. I think it was actually 2020, a couple of years ago. We completely renovated. So, I mean, just lots of changes. And I stand amazed to see where LG was, the middle, and now where it is now. Yeah. And like I said, it's all God, because he's opened every single door of everything that has to do with LG Trend.
And relatively speaking, a young business, 4 years, if we're talking 18 to current, that's not a long time, but you grew it well in that 4 years. If you're renovating and you're getting more merchandise in, because I've been in your store. When I was first trying to get you on the show, I met someone that was working your front desk and gave her my card for you. It's a beautiful store. You walk in and it's bright, and and there's no there's no way you're not know. It's clear.
Right.
You're in a women's boutique.
Well, good.
You know what I'm saying? But so let's start talking about the present now. So again, as we record this in 2022, and I've known this in a way, as you and I have been trying to schedule this interview, that for the last few months, I guess dating back to January, right now we're talking in May of 2022, you've definitely had to step back a lot, and does that tie in with the heart issues you were having a few years ago? Did it just really come back hard on you?
I've just pushed to a point that my body can't push anymore. And, again, I'm faced with if I want to be okay, because, I've since January, I've had a lot happen with my health. I've been really not well. I've had to, got back and forth with my cardiologist test and checkups and all this stuff. And essentially where, it stands is the stress is too much for me. The stress is too much for the cardiomyopathy. I'm at a point with it, with the dilated cardiomyopathy, that I'm still, quote, stable with my medicine. I'm on heart medicine. But if I want to remain that way, because when I was at my worst, my ejection fraction was a 19. That's very bad. It came back up to a point to where I'm stable and I should be okay. Not okay, but okay right now for somebody that has this. So I had to make a decision over these last months. Do I want to keep pushing this and have to worry about what could happen to me? Because I'm 45 years old. I want to be around for my kids, grandkids to be, and all of these things. Do I keep doing what I'm doing, knowing that I'm taking a risk? Or do I do what I know I need to do for my health? And they told me, with where I am right now, even though if I make some changes, I should be okay for some years. But if I don't make changes, then I'm going to have to worry.
You're at the fork in the road right now.
Time to make a choice. And before that, I made a choice. I closed on Monday, made some changes. But in hindsight, all of the what I thought I was doing and taking care of myself, I just kept pushing, which had led me to, kind of where I began going downhill in January. Yeah. Thought I was fine. Didn't see evidence of what I was doing, but, realized over the last few months I wasn't. And so I didn't want to, it was a hard decision. It's hard to, I've worked hard. I've watched this brick-and-mortar store go from the beginning to now. I get to interact with all of my customers that I love, my girls that, have worked for me, and all of these things. It was hard. And I'm going to be honest, from January and February, I was my sickest. And then in March, I think I knew what I was going to have to do, but I was fighting God. I didn't want to do it. So I was trying to find every way under the sun to make it work, keep the store as far as the brick and mortar and make it work. And I just realized that over the last few weeks, realized that that's just not something I can do. And it's so hard. It's gut-wrenching, the decision to shut the brick and mortar and go back to online and social media only. But that's kind of what led up to it. I had to make a choice of taking care of myself.
Was there a specific moment or reason why sort of like the light switch that went off at the beginning. Is it your faith in God that gave you that light switch to say it's time to move on?
And it was God literally almost putting me on my back. I'd gotten to the point health-wise that I wasn't able to function. And it was almost like I had to just be like, okay, okay.
Yeah. Well, as people are watching or listening to this now, you have gone online only, again, to the VIP exclusive Facebook group and your website. Will it be the same as it was before the brick and mortar?
It will, with some new twists and some new shopping changes. I've got something that I'm working on that's going to make. I'm kind of like going back to my roots as before the brick and mortar open, but I'm updating it with some software and stuff to enhance the shopping experience, to make it easier. Apps, and we will be doing lives and things like that. Just updated, kind of like the way things are right now.
Because you've
in
always,
the industry.
Through my research, you and your business and your staff as a whole have a great social media presence. You're really pushing it out there. You're letting people in. So I would say just because you don't have a brick and mortar doesn't mean you still can't let people in.
Right.
Post those pictures of your apparel.
There'll be lots. It'll be even more presence on social media now without the brick and mortar. I mean, it'll be like so much more even now.
I know you're moving too as we speak. Maybe in your next home you could dedicate a room to make it like a studio.
I do. I have in the new home I have a big office area that's going to be just that.
For pictures and
lives, just exclusively for LG Trends. So
yeah, that's the way to go.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, do you have any other views behind that, or past that? I know right now you're in the middle of your transition period. You got plenty to think about. But when the dust settles and you're back into your online only presence and groove and things are plugging along, considering your health as well, do you still feel like there's a way to grow? Something different you can bring into it?
I do, because being home-based and being online and social, it gives me flexibility.
Yeah.
Whereas with the brick and mortar, that's the thing. There's no flexibility. So if I am, no matter how sick I am or how bad I feel, or even what's going on with my daughter, because my daughter still has days that she's not well. When you have that brick and mortar store, you can't really be flexible to take care of yourself or family or anything else. And I was at a point to where not only could I take care of myself, but because I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my family. And I felt like my priorities had completely changed. And, to be honest, I mean, even one thing that's not okay with me that had become the norm is Sundays. I'm not even able to get up and get to church, because Sundays are one day that the storefront was closed, that I have to rest. And if I don't rest and completely rest, I mean by not getting dressed, nothing, completely rest, then I don't make it. I wouldn't make it through the rest of the week. So for me, I realized that my priorities were just completely out of control.
Yeah.
Whereas now, being online and on social, I have flexibilities and I can get my priorities straight. I can work on my business, but I can be flexible when I need to, and I can take care of my family, and I can take care of my customers, and it just meshes well. And I guess the thing that motivates me is, when I get thinking about going back to online, is, I don't know, a lot of ladies will know when I say Pink Lily, but if they've followed Pink Lily, they know that Tori, who owns it, she is like phenomenal. She is somebody that I completely just stand amazed and look up to. She took a home-based business, and I think as of last year, she has grown it to a $145 million business by e-commerce.
Wow.
So she's very inspiring. So I guess I would say I want to keep the premise, what I've always had. I want to keep the premise of being affordable. Being out there and being a boutique for all women, all body types, all budgets. But I look at her and I think, wow, So my focus and my growth at this point is thinking about e-commerce. You know, that's what my goal is, to focus on and grow the e-commerce part.
While giving you that flexibility. So if
Yep.
you have a bad day and you're not feeling it, maybe take half a day, you know,
Right.
or
Exactly.
something. And if it means catching up on emails at 7:00 at night, then
Yep.
so be it. You know,
And the group page that I have is very important because that's what now lets me interact with my customers on a personal basis.
Right.
So now, especially that the brick and mortar store is gone, they only interact. Always been the only one on social. So when my customers message, talk, it's me they're talking to. That I've always been the one that handles that. But now it's even more important because that is my platform to interact and engage and be there for my customers in a personal way, especially now that the brick and mortar store is no longer there. So
how does someone? Let's talk more about your what's it called, the LG Trend exclusive VIP Facebook group.
yes.
Let's talk more about that, how it works,
Okay.
how people can find it and be involved.
So if you're not a member, you can go to type in on the search bar on Facebook, LG Trend exclusive. If it pops up the exclusive, you know that's the group page. And why that's so important, and it's kind of the same way I've always had it. So basically, when items are a couple of weeks from arriving to me, I put them on that page, and my ladies that are members can order and go ahead and order those items. And now that I'm back to online only and social only, there's going to be a lot more incentives that you don't want to miss that will only be available on that group page. So more information will come on that at a later date. But, you know, and that's kind of how it works. So I have my pre-order items that are only on this exclusive group page. They can pre-order. But then as well, I will showcase some of the in-stock items on the website, just like always. So there'll be some things there. Always on the post, it tells if it's a pre-order item, when it's expected to ship to me, or if it's an in-stock item on the website. So that's kind of how the group page works. And then the website, those are only in-stock items. So anything that's on our lgtrendco.com, that's items in stock.
In stock.
Right.
And will be piles of clothes in your house at some point.
I'm working on that right now, trying to figure out a way to get all of that. And I still will be doing events.
Okay.
So I still will be doing any local events, schools, anything that I set up at that I've always done. Now, when I had the brick and mortar, I had to kind of do less of that.
What kind of events were you doing?
Anything like a lot of schools. I will go set up for teachers. I'm doing one actually June 4th at DeSoto Central for I think it's the cheer team. It's going to be me and a bunch of other vendors. But anything local that they have vendors, I set up as a boutique. So I'll be doing more of those now. So just, trying to stay out there and be able to see my customers on a personal level and kind of be available.
Do you do the A-Fair?
I do not. Not since the store opened. Okay. Since the brick and mortar opened, no. But we may go back to that, and I may be at the Water Tower Festival. And I will tell you, can't talk about it right now, but there's a couple of things I'm working on that might be that I'm trying to get in the works. So there's that too, and that'll be a surprise for everybody.
That's nice. Well, look, before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you'd like to share to your audience? If as you say, your ladies are listening or watching, is there anything in closing that you'd like to talk about?
I would just like to thank everybody for supporting LG, for loving LG, for all. I mean, it's because of God's blessings and them, the reason it's grown. And this last year, I was amazed because we got DeSoto's best, second place in DeSoto's best ladies apparel. And that blows me away. I can't even wrap my head around it in a county as big as DeSoto County because there's some really great boutiques in our area. So that's because of the love that my ladies have for LG Trend. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting us from beginning in 2016 to the time we opened the storefront in 2018. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's not enough words for me to tell y'all how much y'all mean to me and how appreciative I am. I posted the announcement of the brick and mortar store closing in June, and I didn't go live because I knew that I needed some time, because I didn't want to go live and just break down emotional, because it's very emotional for me. It's gut-wrenchingly hard for me to have had to make this decision. But I just want to thank y'all. I want to thank y'all for supporting the brick and mortar, for everything that y'all mean have meant to the brick and mortar. And I want to thank y'all for your continued support now that we're transitioning back to online and social. And just know that, I will continue working hard, making LG Trend a fun place to shop, an affordable place to shop, and keep doing all the things that we've done the last several years. So
That's very sweet. That's awesome. I'm sure your audience will continue to support you. And just because you're not going to have a brick and mortar doesn't mean that you're not still growing.
Right. And we'll still be a very big part of Hernando. We'll still be a member of the chamber, chamber supporter. That none of that's changing.
Yeah.
So I will support Hernando and the community in every way that I can. So none of that's changing either. So
That's awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for doing this
thank
today,
you.
Jennifer. I'm glad we were finally able to line this
Thank
up.
you.
But before I say bye, let's talk more about how we can support you.
Okay.
And that is a message to our viewers and listeners. The best way you can support this podcast, and specifically Jennifer here and her story, is to share.
Yes.
Go to our website, therealhernando.com, click on Jennifer's episode, grab that link, and plaster it in as many places as possible, right?
Yes,
Email your
right.
friends, throw it on your Facebook page or Facebook group. Go to iTunes, Google, Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio, Audible. Search out where your favorite place is to listen to podcasts, grab a link, and share it. Also, we post a lot of video clips from each episode. So you're going to see some video clips with Jennifer on Facebook and Instagram. Share away. Share it to your pages. Share it to your stories. Comment, like, engage with us. That's so helpful to not only the movement that The Real Hernando is trying to be, but also for all the
Right.
local businesses, and specifically for this episode with Jennifer, so we can share her story and then, promote her online business as well. So with that said, thank you for listening. And again, Jennifer, thank you for doing this today.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure.
I really enjoyed your story.
Thank you.